Galaxy S6 as well as the Samsung Galaxy S6 Edge. The Edge version is the one with those super sexy curves, them curves though. And then a few months later we had the Samsung Galaxy S6 Edge Plus. Now that was the larger version of the Samsung Galaxy S6 Edge. And we are likely to see something similar this year as well, but all at one time. So the S7, the S7 Edge, as well as the S7 Edge Plus. So this will give people who are after a larger device an option at the same time as the smaller options of the S7 and the S7 Edge. Now there are also some rumors of a larger S7, so a standard S7, no edges. But I do think this is unlikely, and I personally wouldn't put my money on it because that would kind of be competing with the Note series, which is the larger flat version for Samsung. But it could possibly happen. Now in terms of screen sizes, we're looking at 5.1 inches for the S7 as well as the S7 Edge. So the same screen size as we had last year. It might also be slightly larger. Some rumors are saying that we might have a slightly larger screen size. I would say 5.1 inches is what we're going to be expecting. The S7 Edge Plus is likely to have a 5.7 inch display. So the same sizes to what we had last year. In terms of resolution as well, we're looking at Quad HD, so that's 2560 by 1440. So that's definitely nice. I mean, I know a lot of you might be thinking that why haven't we got an improvement, but that's a lot of pixels. And in terms of displays, Samsung had some of the best displays last year for their Galaxy devices. So this is not necessarily a bad thing that the resolution isn't going to be increased. There are some rumors saying that we might see a 4K resolution display, but I doubt that's going to happen this year, maybe next year or for the Note 6 when that comes along. But I would doubt it for this version. Now in terms of the technology for the screens, we're likely to see an implementation of Force Touch. So we've already seen a few different versions of Force Touch on the Huawei devices as well as the Apple devices, which Apple called 3D Touch. Now Samsung are said to have one of their own versions in the Samsung Galaxy S7 series, and this is going to be called Clear Force technology. So this is the name that they're going to be applying. Now for those of you who are not aware of Force Touch technology, that basically is a pressure sensitive screen. So when you do push down on it slightly harder, it's going to give you some more options, and it'll be interesting to see how Samsung implement this into their devices. Now moving on to the build, we're likely to see a similar design and the build to last year. So that's a metal frame with a glass panel on the back. Now this once again is not necessarily a bad thing because the design was quite popular, and Samsung did revamp their design completely from what they had previously on the S5, which was a plastic build. So they are likely to keep this at least for one iteration this time around. There are some rumors saying that the S7, the standard version, will have a slightly curved back like we have with the Note 5, which will make it a little bit easier to hold in one hand. Now because of the glass panels on the back, it is going to be a fingerprint magnet, and it will be quite slippery in the hand too. There's an easy way to overcome this, and that is with a dbrand skin. So I definitely recommend going ahead and picking one of these up. They allow you to have more grip on your devices as well as a nice custom look. I'll be linking to them in the description below, so you can pick up skins for the Galaxy S7 series when they are released. But in the meantime, for your current device as well, dbrand have a lot of selection, so definitely do go ahead and check them out. Now moving on to the internals, we're likely to see the Snapdragon 820 this year. Now last year Samsung did go for the Exynos, their own Exynos processors, because the Snapdragon 810 was said to overheat, but these heating issues have said to be resolved. There may also be an Exynos version. Sometimes they have an Exynos version for international markets, whereas they have the Snapdragon for local markets, but that we'll have to wait and see. In terms of RAM, we're looking at between 3 to 4 gigabytes of RAM, so plenty of RAM there. We might also see 3 gigabytes for the smaller versions, and then 4 gigabytes of RAM for the S7 Edge Plus version. But again, that's something that we are going to have to wait and see for confirmation. Now, one of the issues we had last year was RAM management. So even though the Samsung Galaxy S6 devices had lots of RAM, they did tend to close apps in the background when you had quite a few open. So hopefully this will be resolved this year. Now in terms of storage, we're looking at 32, 64 and 128 gigabyte storage options at different prices obviously. Now the micro SD card return is looking unlikely. Some rumors have said that we might be seeing the return of the micro SD card slot. I personally would not take that seriously. I don't think that's going to happen. It may happen, but I think that it's very, very unlikely, especially considering that with the S6 and the S6 Edge Plus, they had Universal Flash Storage 2.0, which worked really fast. And one of the main reasons why users used to complain about lag on previous Samsung devices was because of the micro SD card slot, because you're never going to be writing as fast to a micro SD card as you would do to internal storage. Now let's move on to the cameras. The S6 series had some of the best cameras, if not the best cameras of 2015. They also carried the same camera on to the Note 5. It's very, very successful. So we're only going to be seeing some improvements here. 16 megapixels, so not in terms of the resolution. The resolution is going to remain the same, but we're going to see some improvements in terms of the sensor. Optical image stabilization is also a given, and also 4K recording. So 4K recording is once again going to remain, and the sensor updates should help in low light performance. Now there are some rumors saying that the bulge on the camera is also going to be decreased because of improvements with the sensor, so it's not going to bulge out as much as the S6 did. That would also be a welcome change. In terms of the front-facing cameras, we all know how popular selfies are these days. This is set to be upgraded from 5 to about 8 megapixels, so that should give you some better selfies. They may still stick to 5 megapixels and just improve the sensor, but we are very likely to see 8 megapixels. Now in terms of the operating system, we're going to have the latest version of Android, so Android Marshmallow, but it is going to have the TouchWiz skin on top. I know some of you do not like the skin from TouchWiz, but it does provide some additional benefits, and it has been cut down previous year, so hopefully we'll just be seeing some more improvements here on the TouchWiz side of things. Now in terms of battery, we're looking at between 2,500 to 3,000 milliamps. Somewhere in between there is what we can expect. Hopefully the battery life will also be improved. This is something that a lot of users did complain about with the S6 not having great battery life, but hopefully we'll be seeing some more optimizations along with Android Marshmallow, so that should give us some better battery life. Fast charging goes without saying as well. This is something that we've got on previous devices, and if you've used fast charging before, you'll know how useful and beneficial it actually is. We might also see fast wireless charging. Now this is something that was introduced on the Note 5. Now what about some additional features? Now one big rumor is that we're going to be seeing USB Type-C. Now, USB Type-C is the new standard, and it's something that we saw on a lot of devices last year, such as the Nexuses as well as the OnePlus 2. It's reversible, it's definitely the future, and that's something that we're likely to see on the Samsung Galaxy S7. We are also going to be seeing some improvements on the fingerprint scanner. The fingerprint scanner on the Samsung Galaxy S6 was great, one of the best, but definitely not as quick as some of the competition, so this is also likely to be improved. Water and dust resistance is looking unlikely. This is something that we had on the S5, but they got rid of with the S6, and because of the build, this is also looking unlikely. I think they're going to save that for the active version of the Samsung Galaxy S7. Now, when can you expect to hear about this officially? When can you get your hands on the Samsung Galaxy S7 devices? Well, they're likely to come during MWC, so Mobile World Congress, which is going to be between the 22nd and the 25th of February this year. Now, we're likely to see the announcement of the Samsung Galaxy S7 on the 21st, so that's the date that you want to put in your diaries. That's the most heavily rumored date, just before MWC, and this is the time that they usually announce the new Galaxy S devices, and you're going to be able to pick up the new Samsung Galaxy S7s early April or maybe even late March if you're lucky. Now in terms of prices, you're going to be looking at your standard flagship prices around about £600 off contract here for the base model in the UK, and in the US you're looking at roughly about $700 to $750. So there we have it, the leaks and rumors for the Samsung Galaxy S7. Are you looking forward to it, and what are you looking forward to most on the Samsung Galaxy S7? Do drop me a comment below and let me know your thoughts. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it useful. If you did, then please do hit that thumbs up button for me, and if you haven't already, then be sure to subscribe. I've got plenty more content coming up on here, including in-depth coverage of the Samsung Galaxy S7 as well as camera comparisons. I know you guys like to see the camera comparisons, super SAF style camera comparisons, the best on YouTube. So a lot of those will be also coming up as soon as the Samsung Galaxy S7 is released. Now for those of you who have already subscribed, make sure you switch on notifications